Hello, Libra and Libra Rising. Welcome to July 2020 Videoscope. We have very dynamic energy in play now through January 2021 because Mars is transiting through its home sign of Aries. And it functions very well there, proactively, instinctively, inspiredly, clearly. And this is in your seventh house of others, committed partnerships, experts you consult with, clients, maybe someone in pursuit of you for your time. If you're single, this may be an uptick of activity in areas in this area of your life. And Venus is also direct in your ninth house of marketing and media and travel plans and people at a distance and publishing and higher education. She's been retrograde since mid-May until the end of June. Now she's clearing herself from this internal review and informing your next steps in these areas. On the 1st of July, Saturn is heading back into your fourth house until December. And the past 2.5 years, there's been a lot of responsibility, things to handle, maybe even restrictions. So this is the finalizing of all of this growth you've been doing as Saturn transits back into this area of personal life, shoring up your resources, increasing your security. But what's also happening on July 1st is Mercury is retrograde in your 10th house now. So there's a review on life direction and where you're headed and making decisions. Based on career and community involvement even. And it's squaring Chiron in that seventh house of sensitivity or vulnerability or wounded energies. It's a sensitive time, and Mercury will be squaring Chiron again on the 20th when it stations direct. Mercury's squaring Mars and Chiron from that 10th to that 7th house. So there are dynamics in play here that won't fully resolve themselves or clear up in your mind until after Mercury stations direct on the 12th of July. On the 5th is the final of an 18-month series of eclipses that has been changing your career, your life direction, where you live, how you live, family dynamics, parents. The full moon penumbral lunar eclipse occurs on the 5th of July in your fourth house at 13 degrees of Capricorn. So developments, personal developments, housing developments, maybe buying or selling or committing to or making decisions about where you live, things tied to parents, people who live with you, your family. And it is opposing retrograde Mercury in that 10th house. So something's coming back online for review, for discussion, for analysis around this eclipse. But it is trining Uranus in your 8th house, which is speaking to financial freedom, psychological freedom, positive transformational energies. But I'd like you to hold off from signing on the dotted line until after you pass the July 12th period, if possible. If it's something that has been in your awareness in past timelines, it's coming back in for reviewing. If it's something new, I'd hold off until you get past the 12th. On the 8th, Mercury is now squaring Mars in your 7th house. So retrograde Mercury, 10th house of decisions and communications with others, Mars in that 7th house. So there can be some tension, irritability, the need to take action. But this will occur again on the 27th of the month when you are thinking more clearly and patterns have normalized in the external. And this is from 5 degrees of Cancer to 5 degrees of Aries. On the 11th of July, Chiron stations retrograde. Now, Chiron's been transiting. I just saw an orb flying right over there. Chiron's been transiting your 7th house for a couple years now. And what's Chiron? Chiron was discovered in the 1970s, and it gave rise to the self-help movement. The archetype of Chiron are old wounds. and healing from wounds in order to become more masterful and compassionate and skillful. So Chiron in your 11th house is bringing up and out all kinds of wounding patterns in relationships from the past. Chiron rules your 12th house. I delineate Chiron's rulership to Virgo and Mercury to Gemini. And it also has a strong connotation on health and healing. So when Chiron's retrograding in your 7th house, there can be developments with others, maybe even a doctor or a holistic healer that you're consulting with. But Chiron will be retrograde until December. It retrogrades at 9 degrees of Aries. Then on the 12th, Mercury stations direct in your 10th house at 5 degrees of Cancer. So there's going to be change and opportunities and an invitation to take chances and even a risk on some things. But this will bring clearer thoughts on your life, your career, authority figures, family, parents, making decisions around these areas. And Mercury rules that 9th house too, Gemini. So this will also help with your belief systems and clarity about publishing and teaching and media into the days and weeks ahead. On the 20th is the second new moon in your 10th house. We had the first one at the solar eclipse at 0 degrees of Cancer last month. This one's at 28 degrees of Cancer, giving more thrust to that eclipse last month. And it does seem to require some long-term commitment, transformational energy, because this new moon is opposing Saturn in your 4th house now, about decisions and commitment and responsibility, and Pluto, it's opposing Pluto, transformation around home, housing, life direction. And Mercury's squaring Chiron, but it's direct now. So you may need to move through some sensitivity around some pieces or areas or connections with others even. Someone may even be behaving in a wounding manner. On the 22nd, the sun heads into your 11th house of Leo, lightening things up. Leo's much more in harmony with your sign of Libra. So now it's time to focus on your goals and your dreams and maybe social connections and the tribe and networking. And happy choices are smart choices, right? And what's also lovely, from about the 18th until August 7th, interwoven in the energy is the second Jupiter-Neptune sextile, which is lovely. It's an opportunity here for creativity and spiritual clarity. Jupiter in your 4th house of optimism and growth is sextiling also a retrograde Neptune in your 6th house of day-to-day life, your habits, what you do every day, work, healing, productivity, service, pets, animals. So this is lovely and in a state of harmonizing through the second half of July and the first week of August. It's at 20 degrees of Capricorn to 20 degrees of Pisces. And then on the 27th is the final Mercury-Mars square. So this can be very proactive time for you in making decisions. It can be spirited exchanges with others. But Mercury is direct now in your 10th house of Cancer, and it's past its retrograde shadow on the 27th. Venus is past her retrograde shadow on the 29th. So the green light for making decisions, making things happen, trusting the perceptual lens of things after we've all been in this strong collective period of review. Now we're getting much clearer on creating and manifesting and things that are ready to be brought forth in a state of manifestation the second half of July and through August. Much love to you, Libra. Be well.